Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Smith in the Black Quant Edge VTF here, T3 Live. And, well, the VIX, the low VIX continues to be our enemy, but we got a little shake and bake to start the month off as we got somewhat of the blow off here in the spine, then comes back and retraces, at the end of the world after the run we've seen. We could use a little more, but as you can see here, this 30-minute triangle here goes up, comes support, holds like that. So the problem here with the SPY is going to be this. Is once again we could use some hit them to get them to shake and bake a little bit, because when we came in here, we opened the week down in here. All right, and this is the lows of last week, and then we went rocketing on the first, but then dropped back into the middle of the range. So the question here for the S&P is how we're going to not be an inside week next week. And so what that would mean is either we go zipping right back to the highs here, or we've got to at least try and take out the lows of last week, which we haven't been able to do in quite some time. Boom, 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 boom. So we'll certainly, what that means is, unless we start taking a shot at that or that, every day we can expect things to chop around, go back and forth, which would be a problem for trading that. But we'll see how it goes. If we go to the QQQ, a little bit stronger, a lot closer to getting to the highs. You can see in QQQ. Barely touched them. And so what this does here, since this was an inside day here in the Qs here, and we open and close right back in the range, that would be a rev strat to the upside. If they want us to keep powering the Qs, we know the tech has really been powering a lot of this rally, and we'll get to that in a little bit. If we go to Apple here, what do you say? It just keeps powering into the highs. So it's just a matter of momentum. Here's your monthly. Let's blow it up a little bit better. A lot of this stuff is just straight momentum when you get to these points. What are you going to do? There's no signal here, and it's just, slowly but surely grinding up. And until that ends or we get something else out of it, it is what it is. And for the small cappers, just give you a little bit more interesting. Small cap IWM. Here you can see this. Remember how many weeks we're stuck in this weekly range. Now we're trying to take it out. However, you had an outside week, and that's countered by a shooting star here that went to a slight higher high and pulls in. If we take a little closer look at it, you're going to see this. So the question is, how do we get out of here? We tested this outside bar to the upside and come back in. Now we're going to try and test these and drop back into here. So IWM looking a little bit more interesting as far as if we get a chance to pull them in finally. If you go to TLT, bonds. Remember, that's inside month here. It's still an inside month. So we got to try and take out that side or that side of the month. Still inside month as of right now. Hasn't done it. Good SVXY. Starting off here. Starting off the month as an inside week. And it's been a powerhouse, but they can't kill it so far. So an inside week to see how that goes. If there's a slow inside week in the SPY, certainly there's more in the tank for the VIX products if that happens. So we'll see. If we go to Dow Jones Diamonds, same deal. What are you going to do? It just goes up in here. And now, once again, when they drop in like this, the question is, how are we not going to be an inside week? What are we going to do? We're going to finally make a lower low. You're just going to go powering back into the highs, or make the inside week itself. Just a few names in there. If you go to DuPont, you got an inside week there. And DuPont here, just like a lot of things, the slow grinder up, and now you got your inside week, and when we get these type of markets, it's going challenging the old highs to see if they can get through it. But inside week to start off for DuPont. If you go to Nike, the same, and Nike still coming out of the ashes, still lower series of highs here. But if this is for real play and we go consolidate, maybe there's more in the tank here, because we know that the retail has been weak, and there's been, after a long underperformance, starting to at least somewhat outperform, and you got your inside week there. If you go to Verizon goes inside week, and I know that's not very exciting, but it is what it is. And if you go back to old school telephone, also an inside week. And the reason that would help is you've got an inside week and an inside month for telephone. It also helps us to identify, are we seeing what kind of sector rotation are we going to continue to see? Are we going to go back into defensive names? Because we know this XLP has been rising. Even before, and for the last few years, it's been the opposite: risk on, and then these things sell off. However, XLP been strong, and talked about Coke potentially making a comeback here in the Dow, and it has. So you can see it's finally trying to come back off this monthly hammer, and you can see here all this stuff was higher than that. So Coke trying to come up, because we know Pepsi has been handily outperforming the Coke for a while, but no actual signals there. So we'll see how that stuff plays out. If we go to trannies, but when you have these anyway, with those Dow Jonesers, We've had a lot of them blown out to the upside, and then we'll get to the oils, which is going to be the part of the issue here. So, trannies starting off the month, doji just kind of sitting there near the highs, and if you go the daily here, a little choppy stuff up in here, but we'll see how it goes. If we can break it down in subsectors, you got Alaska Air starting off as an inside day, and you can just see how this has just been slowly, like a lot of things, just slowly grinding higher, which is making trading this stuff a little difficult, and putting us where we got to go chase all the volatility we can because you're not seeing much. And Southwest Air doing the same, just slow grinder, continually trying to go into the highs. Nothing really new there. If we go to JetBlue, we can keep an eye on something like JetBlue that goes inside day like here, just to see if it's nowhere near these all-time highs, and you had the outside month, and now you got a hammer right below that to see if we can get back up into that triangle there. If you go to United Airlines, still just monthly, just hanging near the highs to see if this can go up, finally sideways measured move and go powering into the highs. If we go to Delta a little bit similar like that, but on the weekly does this. Inside week countered with shooting star against all this kind of stuff, so that would be a rev strat to the downside should it take out the shooting star below 49.72. If we go to the rail CSX, another slow grinder, but not coming in, still going, and hard to trade, but you can see some of this stuff discernibly still trying to walk up. If you go to Norfolk Southern going inside weak here, see if there's any more in the tank there. Remember, this is the one of those that did go to take out the highs, and now inside weak, and you've got Union Pac. Here is also an outside week, inside week, and still Union Pac, the one that has more room to try and go challenge the highs if it's going to try and get out of there. If we go to CP Rail, inside month and just stuck. How are we going to get out of this stuff? And so once again, nowhere near the high. So going to be keeping an eye once we can get that to monthly break out of there. UPS, as I've been saying, just stuck. And whenever you have a range like this, you got to try and get out of it first. And otherwise, you get stuff like this. Going down. No, it's going up. No, it's going down. No, it's doing nothing. It goes right back inside. But you do have an inside week there to see if we can start expanding that range. If we go to XPO inside week, and this thing's been powering. It's not in the trannies, but it's similar. So we'll see. Inside week for XPO. If we go to the Utes, and XLU, remember, was inside month and up. So as far as Dow theory is concerned, you got the Utes, the trannies, and the Dow itself been fairly strong. XLU going to do this inside day. So what is this? Consolidation up, can continue out of that. AEP, it's an inside day like that. Here to see if there's measured move, up, sideways measured move, and keep going off of that. If we go to EXC, no, we've been watching this one forever. There's an inside week. If we go to NEE, right on the highs and momentum weekly hammer here to try and take all that stuff out and go powering into the highs, and it also starts off the week as an inside day. If we go to XME, here you can see this bigger triangle here, higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low. Then in here, the higher high, the lower low hammer to try and get back up into this stuff. Or on the weekly, if it starts failing, that would be momentum shooting star to try and come back down. If we go to gold, gold goes outside week. GLD is an outside week. That's fractal triangle. So you'd need to get outside of there. Once again, a big range, so potentially staying as an inside week as well. And we're going to keep an eye on this. Here's those highs, and then this slight lower low, albeit higher than that stuff. If we go to silver got clocked on Thursday and then tries to maintain up in here. So if we go to the weekly here, another outside week. If we go to the GDX, you see the miners continue to be weaker, and it's looking like they're potentially trying to anticipate more of a dump, but we'll see. Once again, if they start to rally, you got a pretty big week to not go inside, and that's going to be a problem for a lot of this stuff as we keep hunting for volatility, albeit on the downside, you do have shooting star there if it wants to take it out of the monthly. If you go to GG, similar monthly shooting star, so we can pay attention to that. And just like in the XME here, you got that, but on the day starting off as a hammer if they want to bring it back up. So if you go to GOLD, See this a little bit more well defined up in here. Higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low. To see if that can maintain, if the underlier holds and can come back up into there. If we go to AG and the silver, and this is Rev Strat month. Inside month countered with shooting star and below it. So that stays Rev Strat month below 886. If we go to steel all going inside week. Here's SLX. SLX steel going inside week. You got new cores and inside week X, AKS. So we'll see how all the steels act out of that stuff. FCX here would be momentum shooting star on the weekly if they want to hit that. If we go to the financials, you can see we're whipping right through stuff where normally we take a while. But like I said, there's a lot of things that good possibility going inside week, especially with this lack of volatility. But we'll see. And FAS, another one, coming right back, closes right in the middle of that range. How are we going to get out of that? And here daily, you can see it just goes up and then drops back in. So you'd have to take out that or that to not be an inside week. Citicorps, we got the Citicorps doing similar like that here. You can see this here. A little bit higher, but there's not much going on here. You go to Bank of America. A little bit better, still hanging near the highs, and you've got an inside day here, outside day, inside day to see if it maintains this gap, and you'll see this slight lower low, the triangle here, like so. I'm trying to use this as support, either drop back in here to fill the gap or support and keep it going. If you go to Jpmorgan, similar, just inside day back up and towards the high. As you can tell, I'm not getting too excited about any of this stuff just yet, but we'll see. If we go to Wells Fargo, similar stuff, all very similar because you got XLF as an inside day and all that kind of stuff. If you go to Pnc Bank, PNC a little bit more interesting as it came down closer to the lows of the week, so it would have a much easier time taking out last week's lows. Would also be a shooting star after quite the run here, so if they do start to bring him in, I would take a look at PNC. Go to Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs similar, just doing the slow grinder up in here, and how do you get out of this stuff? I mean, just slow grinder and here, no new actionable signal really to go after. Morgan Stanley, I believe, goes inside day with a bunch of that other stuff, and Visa, just like a lot of these charts, doing the slow grinder, but an inside day. Now where it gets interesting is we get to the oil, not oil itself, but here's the UCO, and you can see this is just continues to be a nightmare range. However, the stocks are acting as if it's tanking, so it's certainly going to be interesting to see how oil attempts either side of that range and how these stocks are going to act, because they've been having all sorts of problems. Go to XLE, you're going to see this weekly finally green, but not maintaining much of a rally. And XOP, red shooter, momentum shooter, and OIH, momentum shooter there too, especially how these things have been underperforming. Should the oil start to actually break down, what gives over there? Because we look at Exxon, and Exxon finally tried to come off the lows here, right? And it did, and it backs off. And so what that does is it makes that lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high. Now it needs to get out of this thing as it drops back in a little bit on Friday. And once again, herein lies the problem. It's closing right in the middle of the range. How are you going to take that out or that out next week? That's a tall order, and so looking like an inside week potential there. Chevron did get the inside week and up slightly last week, so a little bit better. If a matter of follow through, and here it's inside day, and now slight daily rev strat as the 2-bar pattern. Both these are in here, but it did take out the lows of an inside bar, so technically goes rev strat day to start off the week above 113.89er. If it's going to try and take a shot to get out of here, like I said, we're going to be watching the underlying, we're going to be watching all this stuff. APA, and if you look at this weekly, you're going to see this inside week. And so once again, the question is, how low do they go? You got this higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low, and inside. You can see the inside week up here. That was nice. Calls the high. But now is this going to call the low, or is it going to get worse down into here? We'll see how all these stuff breaks. Go to CLR. You've got an inside week. And see, once again, it's going to hold this stuff and try and rally back up into here. Is it going to start breaking through that stuff? If we go to CRZO, CRZO, you can see potential shooter here off the lows, but if they want to hold them to start off the week, it is an inside day right down into here, and you can just see these slow grinder pop their head up, puke, pop their head up, puke, pop their head up, puke. Now the question is, it's down in that neighborhood where it tries to rally, so we'll see if there's any hope there. CRZO, if you go to Concho, CXO, another inside day here. And once again, we've been watching this range here. What is this? How do you get out of that? You go to the weekly. So the question is, what is this? And here's going to go down sideways and start expanding this range, or try and hold back up. If we go to Devon also an inside week with the slow grinder down. The good thing is when you have all these actionable signals, we can start to see how many of these things start to get taken out. You got Amarada Hess and Amarada Hess 1, 2, 3 weeks completely within this bars pattern. So eventually that's going to have to give, and to see if there's more in the tank here. Down, sideways, measured, move, and clobber this thing, or try and hold. You got Murphy Oil, MUR. It's another one. 1, 2, 3 bars completely within this week's range. Eventually that's got to change. If we go to NFX just on the daily, remember we've been watching this triangle here and it's just been sitting here doing nothing. So how do we get out of this? Going to go down, sideways, and expand, or is it going to finally try and make a shot back up towards that? OIS, you can see here, goes down, chops them up, stops them out, back here, shooter back down. So what that does is that causes the weekly to look like this. Hammer then countered by shooter. And so certainly going to have my attention if oil starts getting weak below that shooter 35.37 in OIS. Go to Oxy. Oxy, inside momentum shooter, trying to challenge these lows. If we go to PE a little better here, an inside week, and it was green and closer to the upside. So certainly would pay attention to this if the oils start to firm up. PE. If you go to PXG the same. Inside week closer to breaking out to the upside. So there's a little divergence here that we can keep an eye on. Rice Center, GRICE. And that's just coming off this daily here. So you can keep an eye on this daily triangle, see if there's any more triangling in the tank back up in here. You have this outside bar that was reclaimed. That's a fractal triangle on a shorter term basis, so at least got back into that. No new actual signals there, unfortunately. If we go to SLCA, and once again you can see this in here. That the higher high, the lower low, the higher high, lower low. How do you get out of this stuff? And so here, and the weekly goes inside week. So the question is outside week, inside week, and then what does it do out of here? Go down, sideways, measured, move, and puke, or try and get back up into this range. If we go to XEC, you can see this big weekly triangle, and now back in the middle of it. So how do we take out that or that? Nowhere near it, but we do start off as inside day to start the ball rolling if it's going to do anything. Go to the oil services with Slob and all these guys here in the weekly. Just try to rally and come right back in for potential shooter back down. Now, to be fair, it has been doing this, which is a lot better than the oils in general. In general, it's moving higher, but how are we going to break this pattern? Are we going to start coming back down? We got Halliburton. Halliburton's still a little better, and it's just a matter of how do you get out of this thing for Halliburton, and you got the slight higher high off of this. So in order to look good, this would need inside day and start challenging all that stuff. We'll see if we go to Baker Hughes. Baker Hughes still in trouble. Weekly momentum shooter like the OIH. You got Helmerich Payne going 2-bar inside pattern completely, 2 weeks completely within that bar's range. If you go to NOV still a little better, as you can see here, holding towards the higher end of the range, but you are weekly shooter here to see if it comes back in off of that. If we go to refiners, HFC, you got a little bit of a mixed bag here. You got HFC trying to break out of this range here. 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. The shooter, if you drop back into that stuff, that would take out some monthly lows in here. If it goes down, doji, measured move, and starts getting clobbered back into this range, would be all sorts of trouble for that thing. If we go to MPC trying to go the other way and try and take out last month's inside month above 51.17. It's there right now. And here, starting off as an inside day, trying to get out of all this stuff and use that monthly to power through here. If we go to PSX got the looks of those oil services a little bit more. You got the inside day. And here, that shooter, momentum shooter week, if they want to start taking out that whole range. If you go to Tesoro still on the monthly. Monthly still in the middle of this inside month, so this one's right now could go either way. So we want to see how if these things start to break together. Tesoro might be the laggard on either side. So if we go to Valero, you'll see up in here has also been up in there, but comes right back in. Tries the weekly breakout here, but comes back in to see potential RevStrat shooter counters inside 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels of stops if they want to start clobbering that thing back down. If we go to Natty, you guys, here's the bottom of the weekly triangle anyway, if there's any hope, and it's just been stuck in this range down in here to see if there's any hope, although winter might be extinct and that might be harmful for them, but we'll see. Because RRC, if you look at these stocks, is getting clobbered. RRC, how are we going to get out of here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, and an inside day now to see if they want to keep cracking this thing. Go back, test the lows. Weekly not quite inside, but you can see this rest here, and what is that? It's going to tight range, it's going to go down, rest, and measured move and puke. If you go to EQT, the same. You can see this momentum shooter, and the problem here once again is they went up in here enough. It's still a long way down to test the lows if these things are really in as trouble as they're showing here so far. EGN, a little better here, but once again on the monthly, takes this out, and if that's all they've got in the tank here, start dropping back in. You've got here the inside week to keep an eye on, and then PAA, the pipeline. Here you can see this weekly went RevStrat week to the upside, and what that did was set up the RevStrat month here. So this is RevStrat month above 3275. It's there right now. That's a hammer counters the inside month. If we go to XRT retail, XRT still inside month, so that needs to break out of there. Right, still doing nothing really. And if you go to the daily though, you'll see it's still couldn't get through here, and now dropping back in, and it's still fragmented over there because you've got the Walmart fighting for life and then drops back in. Nothing here. You see that? Here's your weekly triangle. Needs to get out of that. Nowhere near doing that. No new actionable signals there. You got Target got slammed. The RevStrat, outside weak to the downside, getting crushed, and now just. What are you going to do? Puke. It's just doing nothing. Right? Costco, which was our leader last month, albeit a grinder, did that measured move. The monthly inside and up off of this, upside was measured move. And now the earnings come out and now back into oblivion. What are you going to do with this thing? God knows. So if we go to Burritos, at least we got an inside week here, and keep an eye on that. Burritos just been floundering along this. So the question is, now that making these slight higher highs, they're going to try and go back down, drop back into here, more E. coli, or is it finally going to try and attempt to get through all this stuff with the inside week? If we go to Coach Purses hanging around, goes inside week. The question is, strong enough to get through all that? Or drop back in. If we go to Foot Locker, no actionable signal there, but with the Nike, you can see, we got an inside day. We can see as far as retail is concerned, still outperforming and just doing the slow grinder off of this after that beautiful kicker here. So inside day, still outperforming, just a grinder she is. LB, pig, but V goes inside week. See if there's any more death, or if there's any, even if it rallies through here, good chance it goes 2-bar pattern. So you'd really prefer that to go measured move to the downside. If you go to RH, still trying to come out of the ashes, and so the question is, if this was real, now you got an inside week to try and get the measured move of that. I'm gonna blow that up just a little bit more for you. But not much to talk about over there. And but IBB also helping the Qsters stay strong. IBB did have the inside week up. That was a nice combination to start off the week, inside day, and it took the inside week, and then chop and grind on the IBB as far as that's concerned. And like I've said many times, even in this sector, it's really fragmented for the stocks. But on the monthly, finally trying to get out of this stuff. Here, we've been here for years, and now trying to take this stuff out. And then it's a matter of going to be strong enough to take that out, or we're going to have another drug death and right back down. But so far, we finally got out of this. One, two, took 3 months to get out of there, and now we're still holding above that in the IBB. GILD still continues to be an issue. But on the bright side, it did hold its inside weekend up. It's just a 3-week inside pattern that needs to get outside of this outside bar. So the question is it finally going to be strong enough to take this stuff out? So GILD certainly at an interesting spot there, and finally, and goes inside day. So even just to fill the gap here would be a nice little move, and that would certainly get some people's attention. It would be a 3-week pattern to the upside. If we go to BIIB, remember this was a bad tick, but if we go to the weekly, you see this big weekly triangle here. Now trying to come off of this, trying to see if we can challenge this outside week or up into here. Just got no new actionable signals going on this thing. If we go to Celgene, Celgene's finally popping up again, and Celgene run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 weeks completely within this bar's range. So on the monthly, it's getting closer though, 3 months, and so above last month's high of 124.56 is a 3-month inside bar pattern to try and take that thing out for once and for all. If you go to the daily, you're going to see this. Once again, it's not clean, but you can see here how it's been comes in, so you really prefer to come off the lows than you're trying to power into the highs, at least for now. If we go to Amgen's been the leader for a long time and still gone. It's just a slow daily grinder, but that's what you want, right? So you got that inside month, and that was all she wrote. And now coming up to challenge the highs. Regeneron, the one that's really been stuck in the mud comparatively, and so Regeneron still 1, 2, 3 months completely within this bar's range, but you're getting closer to taking the inside month, and that'd be 384.58. If we go to ALKS. ALKS is inside month and up. And the big monthly triangle here, bam, 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 and now still trying to power through that. Remember, this daily triangle we drew, and now it takes that going to the upside. That was nice. Here, talked about this a few times down here, and then boom. Now we'll see if this inside day is strong enough to completely break out of here or just come back into oblivion. If we go to Clovis, going inside week here to see if the power continues to try and get up into here. Remember, this is the giant monthly triangle here. Bam, 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 bam. It's the end of the world inside month, and then still climbing back up here. So inside week for Clovis. Go to Alexion. Alexion, you can see all this big outside, then spike down, then spike up, then inside. So we're going to keep an eye on the Alexion setups around 138.21 if it can take that out. If we go to IONS inside month to the upside, so you can look for continuation patterns there. Juno and all sorts of trouble. Drugs are still killing people, and that's no good. So as you can see, it had its moments up in here that looked like it was going to run. Now coming back in here, what that does is set up the potential weekly shooter back into oblivion, since apparently things aren't going so well over there. If we go to MYGN, monthly, we're trying to come off of this stuff here. So you had one nice month. The question is, got any follow through in it? And so daily looking like this: lower low, higher high, lower low, and now open to here to see if it drops back into the triangle. Uses these inside days to expand that to the upside. If we go to Fargo, Fargo still having all sorts of trouble here too. And monthly, now this monthly shooter to see if this is, if things ain't going so well. There's $72 to go down into this stuff, so we'll be aware of that below the monthly. 72.43. Rare from last week had the nice push off the weekly momentum hammer here, still trying to get through all this stuff. And so the daily triangle going to look like this here. Now it's bigger. Remember, it was tighter in here, and that's what we were looking at last week to see if that momentum hammer could get it through here. Certainly did. Now you've got an inside day to try and see if you can get outside of this outside day there. If you go to SRPG, Sarepta, and remember Sarepta did this, powered up and came all the way back in, and now is hammer counter shooter on the monthly. So Sarepta above 33.65. It's also momentum weekly hammer here above 34.85. So those two levels to keep an eye on there for Sarepta and UTHR. Here's the big weekly triangle, and here it gets up there, then crush. So we would prefer the down sideways inside week measured move and clobber this thing, but we'll have to see, because even if it takes this week out, it's going to be a tall order taking this thing out to the upside without somewhat of a slow grinder. So we'll see. I believe it's staying openings in an inside day as well. If we go to TAC, XLK. Still just hanging around. Boy, they're really killing them, aren't they? And XLK looking like the Qs up there in the daily. And SMH here goes inside week. And so if they're going to keep chugga inside week for SMH. Go to Facebook, still hanging right near the highs. Nothing new there. The slow chugga, look at this. And still nothing new on that as far as actionable signal, but still hanging around Amazon. Now Amazon goes inside week. So that could be a little interesting here to see if this inside week is just another rescue before powering into more new highs. If you go to Netflix works to a certain extent. We got the inside week to the downside. There's a daily combination here, and then a little bit of follow through, but nothing really new on that. After that, monthly, you are coming off the higher highs, and you are challenging last month's lows. So at least somewhat of chance of some further weakness. We pay attention to that around the lows of last month, 139.05. If we go to Goog's still trying to get out of the side of this month here, and here's your inside month above 853.79. But for the most part, a corpse and grinder. How do we get out of this? Now you're a doji in the middle of this range, nowhere near that, nor that, albeit a hammer, so we can pay attention to that over, at least on Monday, over 850.82. If you go to Agilent, here you can see a lot of these tech names, chip name stuff, just doing the slow grinder. I don't have anything in there, but you can see AMAT, it's doing the slow grinder, same inside day. It's just a little tough for day trading, but they are what they are. So AVGO now had that big gap up and then comes back in. So now we've got an inside day. So the hopes is they finally bring some of this stuff in and go down inside day and clobber this thing back down into here. So we'll watch that inside day for sure come Monday. AVGO, Baidu. And Baidu goes inside day. So the question is, what is this? It holds the gap. And then what is this here? We're going to get the measured move down, sideways measured move, and triangle looking like this. Here you can see this going into the highs. You can see these guys coming off the lows. So that would be nice if we can get a push down like that, because it does set up that monthly shooting star as well. And you can see how this thing has just been getting tighter and tighter. So hopefully we're getting closer to a little range expansion for Baidu. If we go to NVIDIA, remember, inside month, outside month. And we're getting closer to taking that outside month down, which would be a problem for NVIDIA. But goes inside week. And so the question is, what is this? A slight lower low inside week and just come back up into the triangle, or can we get out of that? And on the daily, you'll see this hammer with a slight higher low. So if it's going to hold, that's what it would look like, hammer back up and take a shot at the week. If we go to Corvo on the semis, Corvo, another inside weaker. Here, see outside week, inside week to keep an eye on. Sina. So Sina, outside week, inside week, and if this inside week gets taken to the downside, that would be a triangle expansion of the outside week and the inside week and down, and potentially clobber this thing with the Rev Strat month, or the shooting star comes the inside month. That would get us some nice little action. You can see what this looks like on the daily when it does that stuff. Down and stuck in completely within this. How do you get out of there? And does it go down and measure this? Is what ideally was what we would like to see. If we go to Symantec, SYMC. Just an inside day grinder and the monthly. Remember, it's getting out of this big monthly triangle. So if this is indeed the breakout, slow grinder continues for Symantec. And it's got a little bit of ways to go to the all-time highs, which would be nice. Here, up towards 35. So if this is just to triangle them out, big consolidation, maybe some more for Symantec. Chugga off the inside day. If you go to Texas Instruments still got some room for them all-time highs, and it's still presently inside month and up. To start off March here, inside month, would still need to take that stuff out, but it is what it is. Xilinx still would be Rev Strat month to the upside, because an inside month slightly took it out and came back into the range. Still 3 months within this bars pattern, but we keep an eye on if it starts getting closer to that. It's also an inside week, so that could help propel it as well here. If we go to Yelpster. Yep, inside week, and to see how bad does this get. As it get worse, it's challenging these lows. Took out these lows. So you got potential triangle here if it wants to hold, but if it starts taking this out, you could have some good problems down in there, which would get us some more volatility if we're lucky. All right, just a few more today. Like I said, it's a lot shorter this week just because of the way the market sets up. Potential a lot of inside week. So if we go to ACIA, the triangle machine, to see if there's any more triangulating in her. She goes hammer against the outside week. And on the daily, it was just a thing of beauty. Bam, 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 bam. Triangulating at its best. Now, is there any hope that it can come all the way back up in here? Well, now you've got your weekly hammer to try, if there's any hope. CNC Centene. Like I said, just a few more here. Centene would be RevStrat week. Inside week countered with Shooting Star. That would be below 70.05. In the solars, you got CSIQ. Here is an inside week to see if there's any more in the tank here to try and take a shot up into there, because FSLR is also an inside week here, albeit slowly grindy. And the problem with FSLR at this point is still 1, 2, 3, 4 months in this bars range, and that's why we can expect it to reverse back and forth. So we'll see how those inside weeks play out there. If we get a Harley Davidson, HOG still doing something like this on the monthly, walking up, and now an inside month to the upside above 57.97. If you go to Sina SYNA, the other one, that's inside month and down, and seeing what it can do out of this thing here. You can see all this sideways here to see if there's any more pain and suffering to the downside, but that's inside month and down so long as it's below 53.05. If you go to Taser also RevStrat month, and that's RevStrat month below this shooter at 24.91, but need some more additional signals to keep her going. If we go to Varian, VAR, inside month and up, and it's got some room to really have to take this out. But the reason I like to keep an eye on this thing is just how it's done this. And so you can see this tight range. This range here got killed from down here, then tight range. Now took it out on a gap, but since then it's coming back into this range. And so if this is bottom of the try here, and tries to come back up, you'll see this to those, and potentially triangle all the way back through these guys as well, up like that. So very looking interesting here. If we go to WB. Once again, all these bars stuck in this bar's range, which gives you this. The inside week after the outside week, the hopes would be down, sideways, measured move and clobber this thing, because if and they take that out, you'll see this triangle here, like so. They can start crushing this thing as well, just like that Sina. You'd be RevStrat month to the downside, and that wouldn't even kick in until 47.15. So if that thing starts moving, we'll know about that. If we go to Wynn Resorts, this monthly nightmare range, but it is inside month break, so still trying to see if we can discernibly ever get out of this range. We're trying to use that inside month, and that would be 100.66, which is slightly above that now. If we go to the daily, also holds this gap, and you can see this tight business in here. Trying to get out of this thing, and it would be RevStrat day to the upside to start off the week. Inside bar opens and closes back completely within that inside bar's range. Yandex, YNDX. Yandex, RevStrat week to the upside. Inside bar countered with hammer. That goes RevStrat above 23.62. And last but not least, Tesla. And Tesla comes down, doesn't fall apart. You got your slight lower low, stuff like that. You're going to start off like this. Inside day back into this range. So the question is, if he comes back into here, that once again, it's a lot of month left, but this is a huge range to not be an inside month. So the only almost the best possibility would be taking out 242 to the downside, and it's nowhere near either side of that stuff. It is inside day, but after the huge run it's had, no complaints, and if you got to go inside month, it's got to do that. So a little bit shorter than usual today, but as you can see, potential that we have a whole bunch of inside weeks, and that's going to keep us very sector and stock specific. Certainly, these energy names, something's got to give over there eventually. But for right now, potential for a lot of inside weeks, but we'll have to see how that goes. All right, that's going to do it for this week. I'm Rob Smith, the Black Quant VTF here, T3 Live.